mute myself because there's a lot of noise here from the shop. I'm in a shop to get good internet connection. So
Yes, I
I'll mute
understand.
myself and we are live already on YouTube now.
Should I begin?
Please do.
Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane. Now this means because Srila Prabhupada is completely, confidentially, intimately surrendered at the lotus feet of Krishna, that is why we accept him as our spiritual master. Rather, we beg him to accept us as his disciples. Namaste, Saraswati Devi. And anyone who is not in that position has no right to take the position of guru. It's called in colloquial jargon a scam. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirbishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desh. Yeah, it's called fishing. Pracharine. Mm-hmm. Namo Mahabadanaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratashe Namaha. So we say that Lord Chaitanya, and we offer our respectful obeisances because he's distributing this Krishna consciousness freely, even to the lowest of people like ourselves, freely giving. And so it's our business is to say, well, if it's being freely giving and I've been practicing for so many years, why don't I have it yet? We'll talk about that. We'll try to talk about that. Okay. And then we have um, Namo Brahmanaya Devaya Go Brahmanya Hitaya Cha Jagat Hitai Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha. We offer our respectful obeisances to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna himself. He loves the cows and the brahmanas. He loves the brahmanas. Krishna worships the brahmanas. There's so many statements like this because the brahmana has a secret quality which enables him or her to be devotional. And we'll talk about that too. Vrindai Tulsi Devi Priyayai Keshavasya Cha Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Satya Bhaja Namo Namaha Yani Kani Cha Papani Brahmahatya Dekani Cha Tani Tani Pranasyanti Pradakshina Pade Pade Tulsi Maharani Ki Jai. Hey Krishna Korana Sindhu. Korana Sindhu. Sindhu means ocean. Korana means mercy, compassion, love. Krishna is an ocean of compassion, an ocean of mercy. Hey Krishna Korana Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate. He's the Father of the universe, our eternal Father. Jagat is the Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kantan Namostute, and very, very dear to Srimati Radharani. Tapta Kanchana Gorange Radhe Vrindavanishwari. She's the real master of Vrindavan. Vrindavanishwari. Ishwara Parama Krishna. Krishna is the supreme controller, Ishwara. but Srimati Radharani is Vrindavaneshwari, because Krishna is conquered by the love of Srimati Radharani completely. Tapta Kanchana Gorange, Gorange, her body is like molten gold, the color of molten gold. Radhe, Radhe Vrindavaneshwari, Vrishabhanu Sute Devi, Pranamami Hari Priye, and she's the essence of my life. Panchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. We offer our respectful obeisances to the disciplic succession. Jagannath Das Babaji, Ki Jai. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Ki Jai. Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji, Ki Jai. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj, Ki Jai. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Balaram Prabhu, I can't see you. Is it possible to see you, Balaram? Oh, that's so nice. See, you give me more enthusiasm, more encouragement, more courage. Really, yes. Okay, so I should.
I'll try to keep it on as much as possible, but because of the weak internet, if my video being on interferes in your audio, I'll switch off. So forgive me.
Sure.
I'll put it back on and off as best suitable.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. So I'm going to come back to a theme that I have been speaking about, trying to discuss nicely. The Christians believe that if I'm a good boy or a good girl, then I'll go to heaven. Someone else has got some idea? Okay, so this is a misconception. This is a misunderstanding of our process of bhakti yoga. This idea that if we keep all the rules and regulations, Balaram Prabhu, somebody is having conversations in the background in Hindi or Bengali. Maybe you can ask them to hold it or put themselves on mute. So this idea that if I do everything perfectly, I'll go back home, back to Godhead. This is very much parallel to the idea of the Christian who thinks that if I'm a good boy or if I'm a good girl, if I'm moral, then I'll go to heaven. And is made, this point is there in the Bible by Jesus himself. that it's not by good works alone that one goes to the spiritual world. When asked, you see, there are always people who are against. There are always people. The word Srila Prabhupada uses in his purport, Srimad Bhagavatam 2, 9, 19, second chapter, second canto, 9th chapter, verse number 19. Purport. Renegade members are never dear to Krishna, but will be pushed down to the lowest condition. I'll read that. Renegade means people who betray the organization, people who make changes, people who do things their own way. These are renegades. Srila Prabhupada writes this while he was with us because he has often said in his commentary, in his purports, in his lectures, that there are people within the ISKCON movement who are actually envious, who are actually against. So in this purport, 2:9:19, Srila Prabhupada said, these renegade members, not people from the outside, people from the inside, he calls them renegade members. These renegade members, they are never dear to Krishna, and they will be pushed down to the lowest condition. They may become maybe worms in stool, to the lowest condition. These are the people who changed Srila Prabhupada's books in spite of the fact that he said, don't change, don't change, don't change my books. They will be pushed down to the lowest. These are renegades. Then there are people who change the deity worship process, that they don't offer first to Srila Prabhupada and then to Lord Chaitanya and then to Krishna. They offer Bhoga first to Krishna, then to Lord Chaitanya, and then to Srila Prabhupada, because they think Srila Prabhupada, he's not worthy to receive their first worship. They want to go directly to Krishna. Whereas Srila Prabhupada says we cannot approach Krishna. We have to approach Krishna through his pure devotee. And also is explained in all of our books. Yasya prasada bhagavat prasada. By them, if one pleases the spiritual master, then Krishna will be pleased. So these people, they've changed the books, they've changed the deity worship process. What else have they changed? There's one other big number. The books and the deity worship. I'm not, at the moment, I have a mental block. But
initiation system.
yes, that's really, Prabhupada says, the pure devotional service is very, very rare. The spiritual master, Shakshad Hari Tvinasamasta Shastrir, Uktastataba Byata Eva Sadhi, Kintu Prabhoja Priya Eva Tasya, Bande Gurosh. This is the spiritual master we bow down to, the one who is specifically empowered, the one who comes from Krishna Loka, the one to teach us, to share Krishna consciousness, the Mahabhagavat devotee. Srila Prabhupada says, unless one is on the topmost platform, his so-called students can never advance more than their spiritual teacher. This is right there in the nectar of devotion. No, and in NOI, Nectar of Instruction by Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada. So these people who are making all these changes, they've even changed the way Srila Prabhupada describes the disciplic succession in his introductory remarks to Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. They are thinking that they know better than Srila Prabhupada how to describe the disciplic succession. When asked why they have made these changes, the answer came from the BBT that we've made these changes because they're more, I have it written on my computer. We've made these changes because we feel that our way of explaining the disciplic succession is more in line with the way ISKCON is presenting the understanding of the disciplic succession. They feel that they know better than Srila. They said we've done some research in so many ways. So these are called renegades. These renegades, Srila Prabhupada writes, are never dear to Krishna. This is Srila Prabhupada's words in Srimad Bhagavatam 2.9.19. Renegade members. They're members of Srila Prabhupada's ISKCON society that he's created, but he calls them renegade members. These renegade members are never dear to Krishna, but will be pushed down to the lowest condition. He understood that these things are going on while he was with us. He said, he's written in different places that there are envious people within this movement, and we don't have to have anything to do with them. Nothing. So, on the other hand, there are those who are trying to follow everything that Srila Prabhupada has instructed. And we come back to our opening statement. It's not by doing everything perfectly that we go back home, back to Godhead. It's that is a Western conception of religion, that if we're good boys and girls, we'll go to heaven. Jesus says, it's not by good work alone. When he was asked, what is the most important rule? He said the most important rule is to love God with all your heart, with all your mind, with all your body, with all your strength. This is called bhakti yoga. In the same way, Krishna says to the same thing to Arjuna. What does he? Sarva dharman parityagya mamekam sharanam braja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayashyami ma shucha. My dear, Arjuna doesn't want to fight the battle of Kurukshetra. And what does he offer as his argument? So many moral rules. If we do this, this will happen. If we do this, it will. The family members will be destroyed. The women will have no husbands. They will have unwanted progeny because they will become loose. And then our culture will be destroyed. This will happen. This will happen. That will. How can I enjoy the being a ruler if my family members, my teacher, so many ideas, my grandfather Bhishma, how can I fight with him? Krishna says, you got all these moral rules. How we're supposed to be good boys and girls. He said, you give up all these ideas and you just give me your heart. And there won't be any sin for you because I will protect you from all, I will free you from all sinful mokshasyami mashucha. Aham, tvam, I, you. Sarva papa, all sinful reactions. Sarva papyo mokshasyami. I'll free you. Mashucha, don't worry about it. Just give me your heart. So that it is not about being good boys and girls to become a devotee. It's about learning how to give our heart to Krishna. It's not a, Srila Prabhupada refers to it as the formula in a sardonic tone of voice, where he's looking down on our misconceptions. He says, keeping the formula. He says, you think by keeping the formula. What is the formula? We all know what is the formula. We rise early, we take shower, we attend Mongol Arctic, we chant 16 rounds, we attend class, we distribute literature, we go on set. This is keeping the formula. It's not enough. It's there, but it's not enough. So Srila Prabhupada explains that this is called niyam agraha. He says keeping the formula, simply keeping the formula is called niyam agraha. What does niyam agraha mean? Niyam agraha means two things. It means ignoring all the rules. That's one way of understanding niyam agraha. And the other meaning is keeping all the rules and missing the point. Keeping all the rules and missing the point of the whole process of Krishna consciousness. So, but Srila Prabhupada says again and again and again, in Krishna consciousness cultivation, the process of reawakening our dormant love for Krishna, the means and the goal are one and the same. What is the goal? The goal is to reawaken our dormant love for God. The goal is love of Krishna. The means are not different from the goal. The means is love of Krishna. The goal is love of Krishna and the means is love of Krishna. It's not about being a good boy or a good girl. Well, let's understand what love is. People say, oh, you can't talk about love. That would be a sahajya. We don't understand. Love does not mean the ecstatic symptoms of the pure devotee. It can mean that, but these are symptoms. They're not the love itself. You can have love. If we go to Srila Prabhupada's different books like Nectar of Devotion, he describes nectar or teachings of Lord Chaitanya. We all have love. We have love for family. We have love for society. We have love for friends. We have love in so many ways, but it's misdirected. He says you take this same love and you, quote unquote, transfer the account. Transfer the account. Of course, this is a metaphor. It means you have money in one account and you take it out of one account and you put it in another account. Say you take your money from your checking account and you put it in savings, or you have to spend something from your checking account, you take it from savings and you put it into your checking account. That's called, you're transferring your assets from one account to another. In the same way, we're all having these loving feelings every day. So what is this? And we take it and we apply it to Krishna and Krishna's pure devotees. That's called transferring the account. Our everyday feelings of affection. So what is that everyday feeling of affection? It's to take happiness in the happiness and well-being of another. To enjoy or take pleasure in the happiness and well-being of another is called love. That's all it is. At the very highest stages of Krishna consciousness, there are symptoms of this love. There are ecstatic symptoms. We don't have these ecstatic symptoms, but we can transfer the account. And as we do, we gradually progress in Krishna consciousness. So this is very, very simple. Just like people in the material world, they go to a football game or a basketball game. And when their team scores a point, they all stand up and cheer. They're taking pleasure in the victory, in the happiness of their favorite team. This is love, but it's misdirected. As long as our love is misdirected, we will repeat in the cycle of birth and death. But the same love, so Krishna is our hero. When Krishna kills a demon, when Krishna kills the Aghasura demon, when Krishna kills Putana, when Krishna kills Srinavarta, we stand up and cheer. We're taking pleasure, and Krishna is enjoying, always enjoying. These are Krishna's enjoying his pastimes. When we take pleasure in Krishna's pleasure, this is called love. So we have to come to this, begin like that. That Radha and Krishna are our hero and heroine. And Krishna is our hero, and we take pleasure in his pleasure. And this is love, and we can do that now. We don't just read the books for getting information. We don't just read Krishna book for getting information, but we engage in, that's called Gyan. But there's two kinds of knowledge. There's Gyan and Vigyan. In the 9th chapter, Krishna explains, Raja Vidya, Raja Goyam, Pavitram idam uttamam, Pratyaksha vagamam dharmyam, Shushukam kartam avyayam. Jnana Vijnana. In the next verse, Jnana Vijnana. There's two kinds of knowledge. One is just conceptual knowledge, sambandha. But Vijnana means realized knowledge. It means, what does realized knowledge mean? It means Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. the nectar of devotion. We have this book, The Nectar of Devotion. Srila Prabhupada talks about hackneyed. He uses this word hackneyed, that we use these words so much, but we don't understand what they mean. What does it mean, nectar of devotion? It means that as soon as there is a trace of devotion or love in the heart for Krishna or Krishna's pure devotee, there's a concomitant aspect. What is that? It's a sweet feeling in the heart. As soon as we're devotional in Krishna consciousness to whatever degree, to the tiniest degree, being enthusiastic and relishing, being enthusiastic and taking pleasure in trying to please Krishna, trying to please our spiritual master with enthusiasm. At the same time, proportionately, we experience the nectar of devotion. It means the sweet feeling of taking pleasure in Srila Prabhupada's pleasure. The sweet feeling of us enthusiastically taking pleasure in Srila Prabhupada's pleasure. That sweet feeling is called the nectar of our devotional feeling. We experience the nectar of devotion immediately. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada says one can be Krishna conscious in a second. It doesn't mean we're on the topmost platform. It means we're a happy neophyte. So, Srila Prabhupada says one can do this in 1 second. The means and the goal are not different. It's only a question of understanding. It's simple for the simple, Srila Prabhupada says. What is that simplicity? It means to accept this as a reality. That although I can't see Srila Prabhupada in front of me, I'm not speaking with him, and I'm not touching him, but I have this transcendental relationship with him beyond time and beyond space. We can have a transcendental relationship with our spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada. And when we try to please Srila Prabhupada, we taste the nectar of devotion. And the more we do it, the more we become purified. What does it mean to become purified? It means to bring our spiritual nature into focus. The more we engage in this way, progressively we become purified. Our spiritual nature becomes reawakened, and the nectar of devotion continues to expand. It gets sweeter. And as it expands more, our desire for material pleasure decreases. Our desire for, and this is called, what is it called? All of our sin, just like we say, prema bhakti yaha hoite avidya vinashayate, anartha nivritti. This is the basis of anartha nivritti. Anartha nivritti means that our unwanted activities go away. Our desires for unwanted activity diminishes. Anartha nivritti. Artha means things by which we really make progress. Anartha means things which keep us tied to the material world, to the world of birth and death. So anartha nivritti means to eliminate these desires which keep us tied to the cycle of birth and death. What is it that gives us anartha nivritti? That when we experience in a higher taste, another higher pleasure, our desire for these nonsense, illusory pleasures, it's diminished. So we can have this now, and we have to have this now. So being a good boy or a good girl, by keeping, as Srila Prabhupada says, the formula, does not serve to reawaken our dormant love for Krishna. I'll repeat that. Srila Prabhupada says in his lecture, I have it on my computer, keeping the formula does not serve to reawaken our dormant love for Krishna. We all have Krishna's love for Krishna love. We all have love for Krishna in our hearts. We all have love for, it's not something that has to be added to us. We already have it, but it's being misdirected under the influence of the external energy towards illusory objects of the senses, illusory objects of affection. First, our material senses and our mind, and then to our extended self, our extended sense of self, my family, my friends, my society, my race, my country, or I want to save the environment, I want to feed the poor, I want to clothe the poor, I want to open hospitals, I want to open schools. You're taking pleasure in the well-being of others, but those are illusory objects of affection. One can get good karma, but good karma or bad karma, the one who has good karma, he also has to come back to this material world. So there's a price for taking pleasure in the happiness and well-beings of other human beings. The price is that in order to enjoy that pleasure of serving them so nicely, I have to take another material body. Therefore, it is Maya. It's ignorance. It's illusory pursuit of pleasure. It can only produce more suffering. So we have to transfer the account to Krishna and Krishna's pure devotees and take pleasure in their happiness. And this is the meaning of bhakti. Bhakti simply means taking pleasure in the happiness, the pleasure, the well-being of our spiritual master in Krishna. That's what bhakti means. That's what love means. It's not Krishna prema, but it grows. It purifies us because we're adopting our actual constitutional position. As we engage in our constitutional demeanor of trying to be of pleasure to Srila Prabhupada and Krishna, we're becoming purified. And we begin to experience the nectar of devotion, incrementally increasing from one platform to the next. And we take this up in the very beginning. One can do it in a second. Srila Prabhupada says one can be, and it's simple for a simple. It's only a question of understanding and accepting that this is the reality. Srila Prabhupada says, quote, Krishna consciousness is only a question of understanding and accepting. We understand that this is my constitutional position, not to seek pleasure in ways that don't work, but to seek pleasure in taking pleasure, seek our fulfillment in taking pleasure in pleasing Srila Prabhupada, in pleasing Krishna. That's our constitution, and we can do that in a second. So, and the means and the goal are not different. The means is to take this position in the heart. To take this, it means to understand and accept, to embrace this understanding. This is called understanding and accepting. So Srila Prabhupada says, Krishna consciousness is only a question of understanding and accepting, and one can do it in a second. Taking this, so it's not a question of keeping the formula. The formula are the activities through which we cultivate this orientation. The formula are the activities through which we cultivate this demeanor of our constitutional position. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada says, understand. Understand that when you're chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna is present in the holy name. Srimati Radharani is present in the holy name. Contemplate. Think of it. If we think of it, then immediately, how can we be inattentive if we're thinking within ourselves? Krishna is here. He's right there in this holy name. How could, if I'm really thinking about that, if I'm holding that understanding in my heart, how could I be inattentive? How can I be in the presence of Balaram and I were putting on this class. And if I say, Balaram is right here. And if I say, Balaram, 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 and he says, yes. And I just keep saying, Balaram, 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 and as if he's not there. That's called inattentive. Hi, it's nice to see your face. So, if we do that with Krishna, what would it mean? Balaram will think, who is this crazy person calling my name? And I'm saying, yes, what you're calling me? How can I serve you? What can I? And I don't even acknowledge that he's there, and I keep calling his name. We can't. This is called inattentive chanting. So to understand and accept means to embrace this. And so Srila Prabhupada says, chant with love. Chant with peace. So what is love? Love doesn't mean that I'm on the platform of Krishna Prema. Love means that I'm trying to please. That's all it means. To glorify. That's what kirtan means, to glorify. That Krishna is our hero. Srimati Radharani is our heroine. And we are glorifying them. Just like they go to a meeting. The politicians have meetings. We have this insane man called Donald Trump, and people go, he has big meetings, and people go and they're cheering, Trump, 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 Trump. We don't, we're chanting, Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. Krishna's our hero, and we're glorifying him. And we can do that with enthusiasm now. When we're thinking, we're not just saying a sound or a word, or a name where it's a personal thing. People go to a basketball game and they cheer for their team. We're cheering for Krishna. That's called kirtan. So this means accepting, understanding, and accepting that this is a reality. Embracing the understanding and accepting that this is a reality. So Krishna consciousness is only a matter of understanding and accepting, Srila Prabhupada. And one can do this in a second. It's simple for the simple. And one will taste, and where there is this feeling, this is called devotion. And one who has devotion tastes the nectar of devotion, the sweetness of it. That's automatic because we're part and parcel of Krishna. We are part of Krishna. We are God, but we're not the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We're his part and parcel. We can't be separate from him even for a moment. We're part of Krishna, but we're covered by the illusory conception. We're identifying with this material nature as the reality. And so we don't sense or feel. We don't sense or feel that we're part of Krishna. We don't sense or feel our connection with Krishna because we're identifying with this material nature, this body and mind, material, our hardware and our software. It's a machine. It's this machine, yantra. It's described by Krishna in Bhagavad Gita that this body and mind is a machine made of material energy, and we're identifying with it as myself. So how do we not identify with it as ourself? How do we not identify with it? We don't identify with this body and mind as a material, as myself, when we accept, when we understand and accept that I'm Krishna's eternal servant, I'm a spirit soul, eternal spirit soul, Krishna's part and parcel, and my constitutional position is to love him. So to accept that doesn't mean to accept it intellectually, conceptually. It means to act on that platform, to feel on that platform, to embrace this understanding. That's why Srila Prabhupada says it's only a question of understanding and accepting. That's what acceptance means. Not intellectual acceptance, not conceptual acceptance. It means to accept it in our heart as a reality and begin to engage on that platform. And one can do that in a second. Now, on the first day, one opens a Bhagavad Gita. You go out and you put a Bhagavad Gita in somebody's hand and they open it and they read that, oh, you're not this body, you're pure spirit soul. Your constitutional relationship with Krishna is to give him your love and do things for his pleasure. To understand is one thing intellectually, but to accept means to embrace that idea. One can do that on the first day, on the very first day. So this is a cultivation. This is our cultivation. It's cultivating, putting our devotional feeling, our love, which is only means trying to please somebody and taking pleasure in feeling that they're being pleased by us. Taking pleasure in Srila Prabhupada's pleasure. Taking pleasure in Krishna's pleasure. This is love. It's not prema bhakti, but it's the same formula. The only thing that's different is that the more we do it, the more our consciousness becomes purified from one stage to the next. Then the symptoms will be there. But in the very beginning, we'll feel immediately pacified within our heart. We'll feel immediately the nectar of devotion. As soon as we take up a devotional feeling towards Srila Prabhupada and Krishna, to that degree, proportionately, there will be a feeling of satisfaction within our heart. As much as the body, the finger takes the food, puts it in the mouth, the body immediately will have the benefit and feel healthy and strong. As soon as, because it's the reality. It's not a theory, it's the reality. As spirit soul, we're Krishna's part and parcel. As soon as we take up this devotional demeanor, how to give a pleasure to my spiritual master, if we do that from the heart, with sincerity, in a simple way, simple for this, we'll feel the immediate reciprocation. Now, Srila Prabhupada explained that it doesn't mean that he uses this word mechanically, that if one engages in all the activities of Krishna consciousness, mechanically, he says, there will be a mitigation. These are Srila Prabhupada's words. There will be a mitigation of the unwanted, superfluous miseries of material existence. Now, let's say that again. For one who takes up this process of Krishna consciousness mechanically, there will be a mitigation. It means a reduction, a mitigation in the unwanted, superfluous miseries of material existence. It will do that. Even a person who has no idea what is chanting Hare Krishna or taking prasadam or engaging in kirtan and just does it, having no idea what it's all about, having no idea who is Krishna, because Krishna is present in these processes, because these processes cannot be separated from Krishna. They're part of Krishna. They're Krishna's. So Krishna's name is Krishna. Krishna and his name are not. So if one does this mechanically, he will feel some relief. It's explained. This is explained in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, that one who engages in this process, he becomes elevated to the mode of goodness. He feels a relief. So, but it will not serve to reawaken our dormant love for Krishna. So we have to add a certain ingredient, just like salt. We're cooking so many preparations for Krishna. But we always add a little salt, or we put some salt on Krishna's plate, on Srila Prabhupada's plate. It brings everything. So we have to have all the ingredients in place. It's not just the activities of devotion. It's not just the activities of devotion that are wanted. It's the devotional feeling that we're cultivating through these activities. It's not the activities themselves that are wanted by Krishna. It's the devotional feeling that we're cultivating for Krishna and Srila Prabhupada through these activities. We're trying to please them. We're trying, Yasya Prasadad Bhagavad Prasada. We sing every morning that when they're pleased, then they bless us with more understanding. And what is that blessing? That we taste the nectar of devotion. We taste the sweetness of wanting to please them. As soon as, and you could do that through anything. Could do it through washing a dish or a spoon. Could do it by sweeping the floor. It's not the sweeping, it's not the washing of the dish or the spoon that gives us the feeling of nectar of devotion. It's the devotional feeling with which we do it. The nectar of devotion is immediately present. And we can do that in a second, at any moment. Actually, we're supposed to live in this demeanor because it's our constitutional position. It's our spiritual relationship instead of material relationship. And because we're part and parcel of Krishna, immediately we feel the benefit, like the hand feels the benefit when it feeds the body through the mouth. Because the relationship is there. Nothing can eradicate it, except we can be covered by ignorance, by Maya. So this is how we defeat Maya, simply by taking it up, by accepting. It's only a matter of understanding and accepting. Now, there are certain qualifications that is very, very helpful for how to assume this devotional demeanor. There's something that's very, very helpful. What is passion? There are three modes of material nature. There are three modes of material nature. Tamagun, Rajagun, Sattvagun. The mode of ignorance, the mode of passion, and the mode of goodness. In the third chapter, Krishna says, of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that when the spirit soul comes in touch with the material mode of passion, his inherent feeling of love for Krishna turns into kama, lust. Let's talk about that again. Krishna explains that when the spirit soul comes in touch with the mode of passion, his inherent feeling of love for Krishna, that we all have that. If we didn't have love for Krishna, we couldn't have lust. If we didn't have love for Krishna, we couldn't have desire for anything material. Because that desire for material things is nothing but a perverted expression of our love for Krishna. That's all it is. Everything we want materially, every material desire we have is an expression of our love for Krishna. But it's that inherent love for Krishna, when it comes in touch with the mode of passion, it becomes expressed differently. Just like a pure beam of light that goes through a red lens, it makes a red beam of light. It's the same light, but now it's expressed differently. our lusty desires is the same love of Krishna, but it's expressed in a form of ignorance that makes me think, instead of giving my service and my love to Krishna, oh, that's the only way I can be happy. That's all I want. We actually think, and we actually feel that if I give my love and service to my material senses, it's going to fulfill me. It's the same loving and service, but it's, instead of being directed towards the reality, it's directed towards an illusion. This body is not a person. This material body is not a person. It's a fabrication of mud and water, and it can't reciprocate my love. But we're trying to please it because we think this is me. So that's very sophisticated hypnotherapy. We're having a dream. It's not that the dream doesn't exist. The dream exists, but I'm not the dream. I'm identifying with something that is not. That's called Maya. Maya means to accept something which is not. So this love. So as long as we're in the mode of passion, all of our love is going towards the gratification of these material senses, gross sense gratification. And what is subtle gratification? There's subtle sense gratification. The mind is also one of the senses. It's the sixth, number 6. It's the sixth sense. The mind is one of the senses. Sense gratification of the body and sense gratification of the mind. What does the mind want? We know what the body wants. Hot and cold, wet and dry, there's nice things to taste, comfort, soft things for the body, all kinds of, then Vacho Vegam, Manasa Kroda Vegam, the tongue, the belly, the genital. So many forms of sense gratification grows. But there's also the sense gratification of the mind. What did the mind want? It has a false ego, a false sense of self. It wants to be very important. I did this and I did that. I'm accomplishing this, I'm accomplishing that. It's described in the divine and demoniac nature chapter of Bhagavad Gita, how the person who identifies, so many enemies have I conquered, and I will do so, and then I'll do this, and then I'll do that. So it's success and failure. One's very concerned about success and failure. A devotee is not concerned about success and failure. A devotee is just concerned about being a devotee. He knows that whether my activities appear to succeed or not, that's Krishna's. Krishna's the controller, not me. The false ego wants to be the controller, wants to be the proprietor, and wants to be the enjoyer of the outcome of our activities. This is subtle sense gratification. Oh, I have friends, I have family, I have social position, I have prestige, I have the admiration and respect of others. I'm a very important person in society. At any moment, I'm dead, but I'm trying to enjoy something that cannot endure. At any moment, it's all finished. but we're pursuing it. So this is sense gratification. This is the mode of passion. Subtle and gross sense gratification. Now, when someone comes up to the mode of goodness, the illusion of false identification with this body and mind and relatives and society and friends and race and nation, nationality. It says, I'm a white man, I'm a black man, we're going to march, black men should be free, a white man should be, they want supreme, so they have white supremacy. What kind of supremacy is that at any moment they're dead, but they're thinking I'm supreme? So this is illusion. So this is false ego. So these things are still there by degree in the mode of goodness, but if something happens in the mode of goodness. In the mode of passion, a person simply is very self-centered. This mind and this body have these senses. But in the mode of goodness, there's an extended self, an extended sense of self. One begins to identify with family, with friendship, with society, with nation, with humanity, with all the living creatures. So then they think, by serving all of these things, I can be happy. Therefore, in the mode of goodness, we have humanitarianism. We have, what is that? I am looking for the words. So many kinds of good work. Humanitarianism, I forget the other words, but they're similar. Wanting to do good work, wanting to open hospitals, to feed, wanting to feed the poor, wanting to give clothes to those who need clothes, wanting to open educational, but so it's taking pleasure. Love means taking pleasure in the happiness and well-being of another. But those objects that we're trying to give them happiness and well-being, it's illusory. You're not saving them from the cycle of birth and death. You can't make their karma any better than it is. They're suffering. The amount of pleasure they'll have in life and the amount of suffering they'll have in life will not change, no matter how much education we give them, no matter how much food we give them, no matter how much clothes we give them, no matter how much hospitals we open, no matter how much educational institutions we open. Everyone has their karma, and they're revolving in the cycle of birth and death. So, Srila Prabhupada, this kind of good work, humanitarian, it's like trying to save a drowning man. A man is drowning in the ocean, in the lake, in the swimming pool. We dive in to save them. And we come back with all of their clothing, and we let the man drown. In other words, we're trying to help people from the material conception of life, means that we're giving service to their material body and mind but we're not serving the spirit soul, the real person. We're coming back with their clothing and letting them drown. However, there's a very important thing, a very important change. Instead of being having this, so it's still sense gratification, but it's extended. The sense of self is extended. There's I, and mine. My family, my society, my community, my nation, my species is an extended sense of self, but it's an illusion because there's nobody there. The spirit soul is there, but we're relating not to the spirit soul, we're relating to the material energy, the material bodies. However, instead of this, it's still lust. It's still karma. It's trying, lust is the perverted expression of love for Krishna and Krishna's pure devotees. It's still, it's still karma, but it's toward an extended sense, a false sense of self. My society, my family, my nation. Okay. The difference is between only wanting to gratify my gross senses and wanting to extend my sense of service in a wider scope, in a wider range, is that the serving mood is extended to other. Instead of just loving my senses and serving my senses, I'm loving other people's senses and wanting to serve their senses. The difference is that the service is extended from self to other. So Srila Prabhupada says that this serving mood towards other, this is where we transfer the account. That unless that serving mood, so in other words, ignorance, it's by degree. There are degrees of ignorance. A person in the mode of ignorance, tamagun, is trying to please himself by being addicted to some drug that's destroying his entire body and creating disease in himself, destroying his organs of his body and making him into a mad person and causing inconceivable suffering to his mind and body. And he's trying to enjoy in that way, whether it's drugs or alcohol or what have you, or illicit sex. Have people engaged? There have been plagues on this planet, HIV plagues. So people are living, they're not dying immediately, and they have to be bedridden or what have you, and they're catching every disease that comes along. And this is pursuing in the mode of ignorance. But in the mode of goodness, the desire, it's not, and all of those activities in ignorance is just about me. There's no sense of any. They not only do they not care about another person's happiness, they will even rob, steal, and hurt other people in order to get their money so they can get their next drug, their next fix, their next hit. So but in the mode of goodness, it's not to what's the word? To abuse other people. It's to help other people. So look at how it's changed, going from ignorance to passion, and then up to goodness. In passion, one is taking things which are not necessarily bad for him, but it's still very selfish. In ignorance, he's taking things, looking for sense gratification and things that are destroying his body and mind. But he's looking for happiness. In passion, he's taking things, making money, having nice house, nice car, nice this, nice that, nice clothes, and taking care of his body. He's going to have muscles. He's going to be healthy. He's taking so many things, but it's not as so self-destructive as the mode of ignorance, but it's still the sense gratification. It's trying to, so it's still self-centered service. But in goodness, the service now becomes extended. Not how can I steal from this person, not how can I hurt this person and take their wallet so I can get my next drug. How can I be pleasing? How can these other people become happy materially? So that this serving mood comes into focus naturally in the mode of good. And when a person is in goodness, they don't think I should be nice to other people. They enjoy it. They enjoy it. They'll give their whole life to these activities. There are doctors who go to third world countries. They don't make their $500,000 or $1 million a year. They're just getting what they need to live, but they're serving. And they enjoy it. It makes them feel good. They're taking pleasure in the well-being of others. So this demeanor of taking, it's still towards, so Srila Prabhupada says, from the mode of goodness. What is the mode of goodness? This is a Brahminical quality. From the mode of goodness, one can become a Brahmana. Srila Prabhupada explains that a Brahmana can become a Vaishnava. That one must, he's trying to create a society of Brahmins. Srila Prabhupada wants us all to become Brahmin. Because a Brahmana can become a Vaishnava. So why is it that a Brahmin can become a Vaishnava and another can't? A Brahmana can become a Vaishnava because a Brahmana has a serving mood as opposed to a self-centered mood. A Brahmana is actually taking pleasure in the happiness and well-being of others. This is a Brahminical quality. That the Brahmana also has other qualities. Krishna describes the austere in the 17th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, that the austerity of the mind and the mode of goodness, these are Krishna's words, the austerity of the mind in the mode of goodness is to have a feeling of satisfaction within one's own heart, not based on anything external. In what's happening external is irrelevant to a Brahmana. That's why a Brahmana can be austere. The austerity is one of the qualities. 1842, Damastapa Shocham Shantir Archavam Evacha. The Brahmana is controlled, self-controlled. Why is he self-controlled? He's self-controlled because the person in the mode of passion and ignorance, his mind is always thinking, about things that are outside of himself, if he can get all of his ducks in a row, if he can organize his life, if he can have a nice house, if he can have if he can have nice sense gratification, he's thinking like that all these external things can fulfill me, can make me feel complete, can give me a feeling of happiness, a feeling of well-being. But a Brahmana that is not looking for satisfaction in things outside of himself, he's finding satisfaction within himself, irrelevant whether it. So then his mind is controlled. His mind is not looking. The mind is always looking for, oh, for this, for this, for this. Thinking about something, thinking, feeling, and willing are the functions of the mind. So he's thinking of, oh, something nice in the fridge idea. Then the feeling comes into play in the heart. Oh yeah, I remember. And then thinking, feel, and then willing. Then he's going. He's off, pursuing external things, like the donkey who has a stick tied to his neck with a carrot hanging in front, and he's got a heavy load. And he's thinking, with one more step, I get the carrot, but he's never satisfied. That's why Krishna says this kind of demeanor, orientation of the heart, it burns like fire and is never satisfied. The more we feed it, the more the desire grows. So then Krishna explains, it makes people crazy. It's the all-devouring sinful enemy of this world. It burns like fire, is never satisfied, and it's the all-devouring sinful enemy of the world. People who are like this, they're relatively powerful. They become in governments. They become politicians. And because they're never satisfied, that what is the carrot that they're pursuing? That I'll make war on the next nation, and we'll have their property and we'll have their resources. It's the same thing as a child who wants a piece of candy. If I can have this external thing, it'll make me happy. So the politician is thinking, if I can conquer the next nation, that's his candy. But it's the same process. So this lust, Arjuna is asking, what makes people do bad things? He's asking Krishna, and Krishna says, it is lust only, Arjuna, which is born of when the spirit soul comes in connection with the mode of passion and identifies with this. He says this lusty orientation occupies three places, Krishna explains in Gita, Bhagavad Gita, as it is. It takes up residence, this orientation, in the senses, in the mind, and in the intelligence. The intelligence is the orientation. It says, how do I relate to my life? How do I relate to intelligence is the orientation. The mind is accepting and rejecting. And the senses are there, want to have what is accepted and rejected, to have or not have this in my life. So the senses are having this direct relation, and the mind is accepting and rejecting things on the basis of the thinking, this will make me happy, I won't like it, so I'll avoid it. And the intelligence is the orientation. It's an orientation. And what is that? So Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport in the 3rd chapter that lusty intelligence causes the spirit soul to identify with the body and the senses as me. Lusty intelligence induces the spirit soul to acquire the false ego. It's amazing. Lusty intelligence induces the spirit soul to acquire the false ego, to identify, and he has the conviction that these things are going to make me happy. I just have to gratify my senses. So in the mode of goodness, this extended sense of self, that if I make others happy, this will give me pleasure. It's an extended sense of self, an extended sense of our false sense of self. It's still illusion, it's still Maya, but the different ingredient is it's trying to take pleasure in the happiness and pleasure of another. It's trying to take, the soul is trying to enjoy the enjoyment of another. When this same orientation or demeanor of the heart is transferred to Krishna's pure devotee and Krishna, it's called bhakti. It's the same, it's the serving orientation, which is the constitutional makeup of the soul, spirit soul, but it's rightly applied. It's not towards the illusion, it's the part and parcel serving the whole body. We're part of the body of Krishna. We can't be separated from Krishna. We're like the cells in his body, infinitely tiny. And as soon as our devotion is directed towards Krishna, and Krishna's pure devotees are also part and parcel of Krishna. They're not different from Krishna. Krishna says, one who wants to serve my pure devotee is dearer to me than one that wants to serve me directly. It's in our scripture. Krishna takes more pleasure in us trying to please Srila Prabhupada than in us trying to please him. It's the way it works. Yasya prasada bhagavat prasada. Yasya prasada nakatir katopi. We sing every day. When the spiritual master is pleased, Krishna is pleased. So we seek his pleasure. So this serving mood, instead of being directed towards illusory objects of affection, can be transferred to Krishna and Krishna's pure devotees. But that can only take place if there's the taste of this serving mood. Like the humanitarian, he's trying to enjoy the happiness of others. So Srila Prabhupada transfer that same feeling towards Krishna, accept that Krishna is a reality, accept that we have a transcendental relationship with Srila Prabhupada. Is Krishna consciousness only a matter of understanding and accepting that understanding, that it's a reality, and we can give our love. A child can do. It's simple for the simple. We have to be simple enough to simply embrace this as a reality. And immediately, as soon as this desire for pleasing is taken up, not officially, that's why Srila Prabhupada uses the word rubber stamp. If we go through customs with our passport, they stamp it. You're now rubber stamp. It's got a then it means we're allowed to go in, enter that country or whatever. It's official. But devotional service is not rubber stamp. It's actually, it's not simply that we're officially, like Srila Prabhupada says, keeping the formula, doing all the right things. It's adopting, taking it as a reality. That's what means understanding and accepting. Krishna consciousness is simply a matter of understanding and accepting. So acceptance means, what is that accept? Acceptance means taking up these activities of devotional service, not officially, not as Srila Prabhupada says sardonically, accepting the formula, the checklist of the things, the do's and don'ts, but taking it up, how? Taking it up with joyful enthusiasm. That means accepting it as a reality. Taking it, trying to be pleasing to Srila Prabhupada and Krishna with joyful enthusiasm. So this Krishna says, so we talked about what is love. Love is simply the desire to give pleasure and happiness to other. The real other, there's no others in this world. We're relating to other bodies, which are just lumps of mud, machines made of material energy. And that's not the reality. We're not part and parcel of the material nature. We're part and parcel of the spiritual energy. When the part serves the whole, the part is automatically benefited because we're part of the whole. So that's called the nectar of devotion. When the devotion is not going towards the illusion, but going towards the reality of which we are a part, we automatically feel the reciprocation is built into it. And all that's necessary is to embrace this understanding. From day one, it's simple for the simple, quote unquote. One can do it in a second, quote unquote. It's simply a matter of understanding and accepting, quote unquote. So therefore, it's not a question of keeping the formula. It's a question of embracing the understanding embracing it in our heart and living on that platform. And so we have to come to the mode of goodness. We have to be joyful. Krishna says in Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma, na sochati na kankshati. How does one come to the Brahma Bhuta platform? By cultivating the mode of goodness. In the mode of goodness, one becomes lighthearted, one becomes happy. And as we continue, that in 1851 to 53 in Bhagavad Gita, all the activities of the mode of goodness are described. And then Krishna explains this brings one to the Brahma Bhuta platform. So the mode of goodness, the Brahma Bhuta platform is something that is cultivated. Prasanatma. When one's on this platform, they become joyful. And Krishna says, what? What's the result of being joyful? Na sochati na kankshati. That as soon as there's satisfaction in the heart, one's hankering and lamentation evaporates. As soon as one is joyful in the heart, one's hankering and lamentation. Why do they evaporate? Because the heart is satisfied when it's happy. As soon as one is happy, they don't have to look for happiness outside of themselves in the objects of the senses. So Krishna says he says, very importantly, he's saying as soon as we're on this platform of inner joy, what's the next step? The first step is hankering and lamentation. And the next step, sama sarveshu bhuteshu. What does that mean? Sama sarva. He sees everyone as pure spirit soul. He sees them equally. And then what is the next? Why is that? How is that he sees everyone as pure spirit soul? Srila Prabhupada explains. Atmavan manyate jagat. What does this mean, Atmavan manyate? What is the jagat? It means the whole material creation. Van, like in Bhagavan. Bhaga means opulence, and Van means the possessor of opulence. Bhagavan, the possessor of Atmavan. What do we possess within the Atma, within our mind, within our heart? Within Manyate Jagat. It means that the qualities that we have within our own mind, we extend that in our perception of what is this world. A person who is joyful within his own heart, he sees the beauty in all living beings. Sama sarveshu bhuteshu. There's the quality of the Brahman. Krishna explains in other parts of Bhagavad Gita. He doesn't see any difference between the elephant and the dog eater, the Brahman. He sees their spiritual nature. Why? Because he sees his own spiritual nature. We see the world in terms of how we experience ourselves. Atmavan manyate jagat. We see everyone. Sama sarveshu bhuta. Brahma bhuta prasanatma. When one comes to this platform, he's peaceful and joyful within his heart. And he's joyful. He's experiencing himself as spiritual energy. He knows he's not looking for happiness outside of himself. He's looking for happiness inside of himself. He's tasting it. And he feels joyful inside of him. Therefore, Krishna says, you cultivate this. Bhagavad Gita, 17th chapter, Krishna said that if you cultivate this mana prasada, this inner serenity in the heart, satisfaction of the mind and heart, cultivate that this is the austerity of the mind in the mode of goodness, bringing this into play, into focus as a living experience to feel joy. Krishna says, cultivate it. Cultivate it. Cultivate the mode of, be Brahminical. That's the quality of the Brahman. Samodamastapasha, first quality, sama, inner peace. Have peace. So when this is cultivated at satisfaction of the mind, mana prasada, serenity, satisfaction of the mind, sama, inner peace of the heart. When these things are cultivated, the mind is controlled because he's not looking outside for things that are already inside. His fulfillment is inside. He said, Krishna says, if you cultivate it in 51 to 53 of the 18th chapter, it will produce the Brahma Bhuta platform, where one is joyful. And what is the symptom of that joyful? Nasochati nakangshati, no more hankering. No more lamenting. Why? Because the satisfaction is already inside. Nothing makes him unhappy, the past. Not lamentation is about the past. And hankering is that if I get this or get that, I'll be happy. That's living in the future. He's living in the present moment. Krishna says that one who comes to this platform, as soon as they're joyful in the heart, they're not looking in the past or the future. They're living in the present moment, is self-satisfying. And Atmavan Manyate Jagat Samasarveshu Bhuteshu. He extends that vision. He sees everyone in the most beautiful way. And Krishna says, punchline. What's the punchline? He says, now you're ready to be a devotee. Now you can have love for me. Your heart is free enough to have loving feeling towards me. Mad bhaktim labhate param. Brahmabhuta prasanatma, joyful within the heart. Na sochati na kangshati. No more, when you're joyful, you'll have no more hankering and lamenting. Samasarveshu bhuteshu. You'll see the beauty, you'll see that you see in yourself, you'll see it in everyone else. They call it today, psychologists, projection. Everyone's projecting. They say, the world is our mirror. Whatever we see in the world, it's a picture of what's in our own heart. Projection. Atmavan manyate jagat. Seeing the world in terms of the quality of our own heart. So we have to have a beautiful heart. Then we won't have a problem with anybody. All of the problems between devotees, and if this group, that group, what have you, is because envy. They're symptoms of our envious nature. We find fault. We try to raise ourselves up. The false ego tries to raise itself up by putting someone else down. But as soon as we are joyful within the heart, we come to the Brahminical platform. He does make no distinction between the dog and the dog eater and the Brahmin. He sees the beauty in all of them. Samasarveshu, he sees, he relates equally to all with love. And Krishna says, now you're ready to be a devotee. Now you can, because the devotion, the loving feeling, taking pleasure in giving pleasure to Krishna's pure devotee. And the heart is free, unfettered. So we have to come to that. So this is the biggest secret. The biggest secret. It's taken so long for me to have a little understanding. The biggest secret, the threshold of entering into Krishna consciousness. Because Krishna consciousness is not an activity. There are activities in Krishna consciousness, but Krishna consciousness is a kind of consciousness. Krishna consciousness, see, we use, like Srila Prabhupada says, hackneyed. We use these terms so much that they become hackneyed. We don't understand what they mean. It's Krishna consciousness. It's the consciousness that's important. If the consciousness is there, the activities will automatically be qualified. Our activities are qualified with our consciousness. What's the difference between chanting with devotion, or japa, and chanting mechanically? Or what mechanical chanting means inattentive, just doing without thinking about what it's about. What's the difference between mechanical, the activities of devotional service, 9 prescribed forms of devotion, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, Vishnu, Archanam, Bandhanam. One can do deity worship mechanically. Archana, Bandhanam. One can offer obeisances. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Persaya Bhutale. One can do it mechanically. What are we doing when we're saying Namo Vishnu Padaya? We're bowing down. Haha Prabhu Koradoya. Deho More Pada Choya. Oh Master, be merciful to me. Give me the shade. Give me the shade of your lotus feet. Is it begging to feel, let me be with you. Let me feel your association. Here we're all Namo Vishnu Padaya. It's not an official theme song. People go to football games and sing the national anthem before the football game. Do you think they care anything about the country? They're there with their bottle, a 6-pack of beer, and they want to watch the football game and jump up and down. So it's not official rubber stamp activity. It is feeling from the heart, understanding what we're doing. We're not members of an organization. A member, we don't want to be. It's not about that. We can be members, that's not a problem, but membership is not, that's official. We can wear a badge. I'm a Prabhupada Nuga, I have my badge. I'm a member. But what does a Nuga mean? It means to follow within our heart the mood, the devotional feeling that the pure devotee has for Krishna. So, and to imbibe the taste of his devotion, to become saturated with the taste of his devotion, to become infected with the taste of his devotion by having, and all these words are in our books, by having an intimate relationship that is also in our books with our spiritual master, by having that initiation means to have a heart-to-heart relationship with somebody who has Krishna always in their heart. And in that way, our heart becomes infected with their qualities of their devotion. So Srila Prabhupada says that pure devotional service is as much infectious in a good sense as an infectious disease. Srimad Bhagavatam 1.5.25. Pure devotion is as much infectious in a good sense as how can our hearts be so open? Or we can have a heart-to-heart relationship, a heart-to-heart, but it's nectar of devotion. Association is like a crystal stone. Means association is like a mirror. That our heart is like a mirror. That's why we need good association, because our heart will reflect the qualities of whoever and whatever we're in association with. He said, if you want to become a drunkard, you associate with drunkards. Or if you associate with drunkards, you'll become a drunkard. And if you associate with a pure devotee, you'll become. But what is the meaning of that association? Association is like a mirror or crystal stone that reflects. But to associate with a pure devotee, Srila Prabhupada says in chapter 12 of Nectar Devotion, the mirror has to be clean. The mirror has na sochati, na kankshati, no more hankering, no more lamenting, joyful within the heart. If we approach Srila Prabhupada with a joyful heart, we'll be able to feel his presence. It's automatic, but that's the clean mirror. Joyful means luminous, bright, not clouded with the dust of hankering and lamentation. That's why Krishna says when we become joyful, Mad Bhaktim Labhate Param, that we can become devotional when we become joyful. It's a prerequisite. If we're not joyful, we're hankering and lamenting. That's the dust on the mirror. That stops it from reflecting the qualities of the pure devotee. Therefore, the secret of becoming a devotee, of having a living relationship with the pure devotee, Srila Prabhupada, the secret is to approach him with a joyful heart. Mad Bhaktim Labha. We can become devotional when we're joyful. That's what 1854 is telling us. So if we, what is Srila Rupa Goswami saying? The first necessity for becoming a devotee is enthusiasm. Joyful and enthusiasm, put them together. 1 and 1 is 2. Joyful and enthusiasm means joyful enthusiasm. If we approach Srila Prabhupada with joyful enthusiasm, to that degree we will immediately feel his presence in our heart. If we chant the holy name with joyful enthusiasm for the pleasure of our spiritual master, we will immediately feel how he's enjoying the sound of the holy name. And we'll become infected. That's why the lotus feet of our spiritual master is the only way by which we'll attain this pure devotional service. Why? How does it work? Pure devotion is infectious in a good sense, like an infectious disease. Infection of the qualities of the pure devotee means to imbibe the taste of his devotion. Yeah. Sri Chaitanya, what is nectar of, what is the name of that book? Haridas Thakur is explaining to Lord Chaitanya that when we chant the holy name, we should be meditating on our spiritual master and Krishna. We should be meditating on, when we chant the holy name, we should be meditating on the process is teachings of Lord Chaitanya, that the pure devotee is hearing chanting the holy name. And if we chant with the same feeling, that becomes the worship of the holy name. That means we can't be chanting without feeling his presence, because he's teaching us how to feel devotional. And not just devotional, the joy, the enthusiasm of devotion. Srila Prabhupada. Therefore, we sing every morning. Prema bhakti yaha hoite avidya vinashayate. That from him this love of Krishna feeling comes. And if we can catch it in his association, avidya, our ignorance is destroyed. It's like when there's light, there can't be darkness. So whether we get that light from him. So we have to have his association. So we have to live in his association. That's why it's called not a user's manual, but an apprenticeship program. We're engaging in devotional service under the guidance, in the association under the guidance of the master. And what's he imparting to us? Not how to lay bricks, not how to fix plumbing, but how to feel love, how to feel the joy of Krishna consciousness. Our hearts have, so association is like a crystal stone, but our hearts have to be free. So we have to be on the Brahmabhuta platform, the joyfulness, and then the enthusiasm. How can one be enthusiastic if they're lamenting? How can one be enthusiastic if they're grasping after something? But if one already has the satisfaction, mana, prasada, sama, within the heart, a prasanatma, joyfulness. So come to the mode of goodness, approach Srila Prabhupada with a feeling of joyful enthusiasm, and immediately we feel his presence. Immediately, prema bhakti hoite avidya, immediately we can imbibe the taste of his love of Krishna. We can imbibe the taste of his joyfulness in engaging, that he, for him, Krishna consciousness is a celebration. We can taste it, we become imbibe the taste of pure devotion, infection of the qualities of the pure, imbibe the taste of his devotion. This is what Krishna, this is immediate. It's not after 10 years, 20 years, 50 years, 100 years. One can do it in a second. The only one requires faith that it's a reality. That's why he says it's only a question of understanding and accepting. That's accepting. That's what accepting means. That if we accept that this is a reality, we will engage with joyful enthusiasm. That is the measure of our acceptance. If we accept that, and if that acceptance is there, then immediately one tastes the nectar of devotion. The one immediately, as much as the acceptance, and one engages with joyful enthusiasm, to that degree, immediately one takes. Devotion is one thing, but the nectar of devotion can't be divided from the devotion. It's the nectar is of the devotion has nectar built into it. As soon as we engage with joyful enthusiasm for the pleasure of our spiritual master, to that degree, in the moment, we taste the nectar of devotion. Now, one can do this, or one can do everything mechanically for 100 years, and it will never open up. There will be some mitigation of the unwanted superfluous miseries of material nature, quote unquote, by doing things mechanically, by accepting the formula, Srila Prabhupada says. There will be, quote, the mitigation of the unwanted superfluous miseries of material energy, quote unquote, but it will not reawaken our dormant love for Krishna. So although it will feel good, and then when we stop it, that good feeling will go away. The mechanical process will not invoke or wake up the way to get the lotus feet of our spiritual master is the only way by which we can obtain this pure devotion. How? Prema bhakti, from him it comes. He's sharing it with us. He's sharing his heart with our heart. Therefore, initiation means, unquote, a heart, the accomplishment, the implementation of a heart-to-heart relationship with Krishna's pure devotee, with the spiritual master. It's a heart-to-heart relationship. So that but to have that heart-to-heart relationship, one has to approach him with a heart filled with joyful enthusiasm. That is the key. That is the ingredient. That is what the tiny, tiny key that opens the door to a whole other world, a whole other dimension, a whole other arena of reality, the only reality, instead of living in illusion. The tiny key, if we accept that this is a reality, that we can have a transcendental relationship with Krishna's pure devotee, who has come to share his heart with us, because that's the only way we can again reawaken, because the association is like a crystal stone. This is the way it works. This is a technology. This is a science of Krishna consciousness, that he shares his heart with us, and we imbibe the taste of his devotion, and then we practice Krishna consciousness in his association, not letting go of his association, so that we can saturate our devotional activities with that feeling, and that's imbibing the taste. So from him, prema bhakti from him this love emanates, and if we can catch it, avidya vinasha yate, our ignorance becomes destroyed. This is the process of Krishna consciousness. And if we do everything mechanically, it's called niyamagraha, completing the whole formula, but missing the point. It's called bhakti yoga. Yoga means connecting with the absolute, but through the medium of bhakti. So where will we get this bhakti? Prema bhakti ahoite. From him, this feeling of love of Krishna, this joyful engagement in Krishna consciousness, from him this feeling emanates. And if we can catch it, by him, our ignorance is destroyed. And this is it. It's not, like I said, when we started this talk, the Christians think if I'm a good boy or a good girl, I'll go to heaven. And Jesus says, no, it's not by good works. But the most important, essential rule of all rules is to love God with all your heart. So where are we going to get this love? We'll get this love by associating with someone who has this love, who's come from the spiritual world to share this love. That's how, this is the science of Krishna consciousness. So again and again, what I really want to say, what I really want to share with my God brothers, young, old, there's no senior devotees. There's no senior devotees. We're all neophytes. But Srila Prabhupada says the neophyte will to become infected with the qualities of the pure devotee. Srila Prabhupada writes in 1.5.25, he says, the neophyte imbibes the taste of devotion in the association of the pure devotee who has this feeling in his heart, the neophyte. There's not a question of senior. It's not a question of treading water for 50 years, and then one day the bolt of lightning will come, and when I become, then I'll be given realization, then I'll be joyful. No. When I'm joyful, when I take up this Krishna consciousness in a joyful spirit, then I'll have realization. It's not when I have realization I'll be joyful, but when I'm joyful, that will be my realization. The nectar of devotion and devotion can't be divided from each other. As soon as the devotion is there, one tastes the nectar, the sweetness. That's what makes us want to. So Srila Prabhupada said to me that it's just like being addicted to some drugs. We'll become addicted to the sweetness of being in Krishna consciousness. We'll become addicted. We'll want more. So because we'll be tasting the nectar of devotion. The nectar of devotion won't be there unless the devotion is there. And where we get this devotion, we'll get it from him. How can we get it from him? We have to have a heart-to-heart relationship with him. How can we have a heart-to-heart relationship with him? We have to approach him with joyful enthusiasm. No, this is the science of Krishna consciousness. It's not a mechanical process where good boys and girls will one day go to heaven. It's a question of, it's not by good work. It's not by mechanical being obedient. It's by having the association of someone who has Krishna consciousness and then becoming infected with their qualities so that our heart can reflect what are his qualities. When our heart becomes reflected, when we associate with Srila Prabhupada, his Prema Bhakti Yahahoite, it shines out towards our heart. And if our heart is clean, why is it clean? Because we're in a joyful frame of mind and we're not in hankering and lamentation. We're joyful. If we approach him in a joyful mood with a clean mirror heart, and then his Prema Bhakti Yahoite, it radiates from him. It touches our heart and it goes towards Krishna. Reflects. And that's the way we become Krishna. Cultivate. And it expands. We're not talking about ecstasy. We're talking about the happiness that Srila Prabhupada says, chant Hare Krishna. And what? There's a special ingredient that has to chant Hare Krishna and be happy. I speak to devotees, some devotees says, oh, it means that if we chant Hare Krishna, we'll become happy. No, that's not, no, it's a direct order. Chant Hare Krishna and be happy, be joyful, be enthusiastic, take it up with joyful enthusiasm. And that's the price we have to pay for feeling Srila Prabhupada's association. It means that we accept. It means that we embrace it, the process, and approach Srila Prabhupada with joyful enthusiasm and immediately feel his presence so that we can imbibe the taste, which will saturate our own consciousness, which will enable us to engage in the cultivation of this consciousness, which is called Krishna consciousness, under the guidance and direction in the association of the pure devotee who is sharing his heart with us. So the key is to approach him with joyful enthusiasm. Utsahan is enthusiasm, and prasanatma is joyfulness of the heart. If we approach Srila Prabhupada with utsahan and prasanatma, what mad bhaktim labhate param, we enter the arena of devotional service and taste the nectar of devotion. Hare Krishna. I'm going to say this. I'm going to say this. I'm going to shout this because it's not understood. It's not by doing it all mechanically for 100 years. There's a bolt of lightning that's going to descend and we're going to become devotees. It's by
Yes,
accepting.
the goal of learning is associated with Ishan Prabhu, and you get his
I'm
enthusiasm.
just trying to share. I need your association to do it. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for putting up with us and our nonsense. And
Not at all. It's not like that. You think you're nonsense, you can't compete with me. I'm more nonsense. We're babies, we're neophytes, but
I can compete with you,
we're
believe me.
discussing the process. We're discussing the process. There are no senior devotees.
I was going to say from the beginning, but I didn't.
There may be a few of us who are older, just means we're closer to the grave. It's no qualification for being Krishna conscious, being older.
You started the class in a very you want
It's
to
gotta
knock us
be
out
because I'm trying to,
that's good.
because
I love
I have
it.
this cloud of ignorant concepts. And I have to pick through all of that nonsense and understand.
Sometimes in class, I felt like maybe you wanted to just tread carefully. And from the beginning of this class, you were sort of, okay, I'm just going to say what I want to say, no matter how it comes out, whatever. And I felt that from the beginning to the end, it was with love in punches.
You know, it's by us talking about it. There's one quote that in order to attain this level of Krishna consciousness, Srila Prabhupada writes, one should immediately and repeatedly discuss this process amongst ourselves, immediately and repeatedly, to keep it alive. It's an orientation, you know. So, and I can't do this. I can't talk like this unless I'm with you guys. It helped me to remember what I'm supposed to remember. Honestly, it's not that. So I need your association in order to we that's the process. We associate with each other and we talk about how we do it, and we get geared up. You know, we say, okay, let's do it.
We're fired up now.
Yes.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you so much once again. I'm sorry for the background noise.
No
And the
noise.
influence.
I didn't notice any noise. Forgive me if I spoke.
Next Tuesday, where are we gonna be? On Tuesday. What's next Tuesday, date wise?
It's 1 week. We
Today,
will going.
Oh my God.
what?
27th, we're away, right?
Yeah.
Robaji,
Yeah.
if we like, we can change the date now for Tuesday, because on Tuesday, exactly next week, right? Yeah. Tuesday next week, 27th, we'll be traveling from Jagannath Puri to Mayapur Dham. And I think we arrive in Mayapur Dham at about 7-ish, 8-ish. So either, we can't do it earlier.
Yeah, Wednesday.
If you like, we just move it to Monday or Wednesday, if that's possible.
Oh, you tell me what works for you. Take your time.
Wednesday will be better because we'll have a better internet connection in Mayapur Dham. We'll be in Mayapur.
Do you want to decide now or you want to think it over?
No, let's decide now. Wednesday is better.
Okay, I'll see you on Wednesday.
But at the same time, just the day we're changing to Wednesday.
Yeah, sure.
One time only.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Ishan Prabhu ki jai.
Jai.
Thank you so much for knockout punch class. Love for Prabhupada is needed.
Hare
Today
Krishna.
we met one nice devotee.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.